Hey everybody, it's Bill Slocum at NC State University. And in my series, an introduction to the National Park Service ArcGIS Online for Organizations videos, I'm going to talk about creating a hosted feature service using ArcMap. Now, neither the National Park Service nor NC State University endorses or recommends any processes, commercial products, or services. This material may not be used for advertising or product endorsement purposes. This material is intended for educational purposes only. Neither the U.S. government nor NC State University warrants or assumes any legal liability or responsibility for the accuracy, completeness, or usefulness of any information, apparatus, product, or process disclosed. So creating a hosted feature service using ArcMap. To do this, you will have to have publisher, an NPS publisher role. If you do not have one, you need to contact your regional GIS coordinator and understand the terms of use when publishing a service to ArcGIS Online. In the Northeast region, you can contact Nigel Shaw or Roland Duhame or myself for assistance in getting that access. So how do you create a hosted feature service using ArcMap? Well, it all starts in ArcMap. And I'm using ArcMap today because it is a nice and steady platform. So it all starts with ArcMap. You're going to have layers in your ArcMap document like you normally would. You're going to set symbology, have some visible features, attribute aliases, and map document properties. All of these parts of creating an ArcMap document are going to help you publish that feature service to ArcGIS Online after you sign in and share your map as a service. And then, of course, always check your work after you're done. But it all starts in ArcMap. Okay, and just so you have the URL, there's the National Park Service ArcGIS Online for Organizations URL. So let's get to ArcMap. I've got a representation here of Colonial National Historical Park. This boundary data came from the Lands Division. And I'm using it for demonstration purposes only, just for demo, okay? Now, you'll see here in my ArcMap document, I have two layers associated with the ArcMap document. I have two polygon layers. One is shaded and the other is does not have a fill within the polygon itself. Now, you could publish this as a service, and that would be just fine. But what you would have is two layers in that service. In my workflow that I'm going to show you today, and in most of my workflows, I only like to have one layer per service. So I can use that over and over in my web maps and associated web apps as I move along. So you can see that I've removed that layer from my ArcMap document so that when I publish this as a service, only this one layer gets created as a service. So I'm going to save my map document here. And this is very important because the name of your feature service is going to be the same as your ArcMap document. And I'm just going to go in here and save my ArcMap document. And I'm going to put LN in here. Now, I know it's not a linear representation, but it helps me understand what I'm doing. Okay, make sure that your names are informative and they're not just test 1, test 2 or something of that nature, or just simply points of interest. Put your park name in there, okay? It'll give it some individuality and make it easier for you to use. So I'm going to save that. Now, I've talked about layers. I've talked about symbology. For the most part, what you see in your ArcMap document is what you're going to see in ArcGIS Online. There are exceptions to this, and I can't answer all those questions. Just make sure that when you share your map document as a service, you double check that to make sure your symbology looks as you would expect. Okay, let's look at those attributes. We're all familiar with the Identify tool, so I'm going to click the Identify tool here, and you'll see that I have a lot of attributes that are visible. Now, if an attribute is visible in your ArcMap document, it will be available in the ArcGIS Online feature layer. So it's your workflow to determine which attributes do you need to present to your audience, and do you need aliases so that people can understand what is happening with their map document. Well, I'm going to subset this a little bit, and I am going to go into my open the attribute table here, and I'm also going to go into the layer properties. We'll let that come up. You see the layer properties here, and I have my fields button. Now, you'll notice that in my attribute table, I have an asterisk beside some of the fields. Those fields are indexed. You should always leave those fields visible when you're working with ArcGIS Online and ArcMap. But some things you can uncheck. I'm going to uncheck several different items that my audience does not need to see. I'm going to leave the acres visible because I want my people to see that, my audience to see that. I'm also just going to leave the shape length and the shape area checked as well. Now I talked about aliases. This feature 3, because I've worked with this data, I know that this is actually the unit name within the park. So I'm just going to type that alias in there, and you can see that that changed what's visible here. And under name, I'm only simply going to make that look a little bit proper. And I have given that something so it's not in all caps. Simply say apply and OK, and you'll notice now that my attribute database is slimmed down so that when my people viewing this layer or the audience viewing this layer can now see that they have just the name and the unit name and the other attributes that I wanted them to see. Now, they won't see the object ID or that shape field, but that's okay. So I've got my visible attributes, my layers, my symbology, my attribute aliases. Now let's look at the map document properties, because this is very important. These map document properties are metadata associated with your applicate or with your layer. So you see I don't have a name. Well, I'm going to give that name, that I'm going to give it a title, copy that, and just put my title up here. Now a lot of this will translate over into my feature layer metadata. So I am going to click apply and click OK. So I've set my map document properties. Now I want to sign into ArcGIS Online, and I'm going to do that through my ArcMap interface here. So if you go up to File, you'll see a Sign In and an ArcGIS Online. Now, the ArcGIS Online option just launches the ArcGIS Online dialog box, so you can access data and open maps. If I want to publish this feature, this layer to ArcGIS Online, and remember, you have to have a publisher level of access, an NPS publisher, contact your regional coordinator for that for assistance there, but I'm going to sign in. And we have with the National Park Service an enterprise login based on your PIV card. So I have my PIV card and my card reader, and again, you're going to access nps.maps.arcgisonline or arcgis.com, and I'm simply going to put NPS in the dialog there and click continue. Now it does recognize National Park Service, and I'm using my National Park Service login, the same thing that you would use when working with your Bison Connect. Now, here's my sign in with PIV card, and let's hope that the dialog does not just pop up behind my ArcMap interface. And it looks like it may have. So let me move this out of the way, and there is my dialog. So I can enter my PIV ID, just like you would, and click OK. Again, if the dialog box disappears, you can maybe move a few items such as your ArcMap document to find that. Now, you can see that I have now logged in, and that didn't take very long. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but I'm actually logged in now. So I've logged into my ArcGIS Online account, and now from the File menu in ArcMap, I can simply share as a service, and that is going to bring up the share as a service dialog box. Now, I don't have this already in my ArcGIS Online environment. If I did and I made any corrections or amendments, I could always overwrite that service, but I'm going to publish a new service because I don't have this in my ArcGIS Online environment quite yet. I'll click the next button. And notice here that I am going to I want to do my hosted services for my National Park Service. If you have multiple connections, you would use the drop-down box to choose the correct one, as you just saw me do. Now, the service name, if you notice here, I have my colo boundary line demo, because this is a demonstration, and it matches my map document. Now, in my workflow, I like to leave my map document and my service names the same. That way I can easily understand what I have on my desktop and what I have within ArcGIS Online and match those if I need to. So I'm just going to simply say continue. And that's going to bring up my Service Editor dialog box. Now let's just look at a few things here. I can't hit on everything. We want feature access so that we have the ability to click on a feature and get its attribute pop up just like I do in ArcMap. So I'm going to leave feature access checked, and you have other abilities to allow features to be created or deleted. I'm leaving query checked. If you're going to work offline in ArcGIS Online, you can have this synced, and you can also click the update button. I'm going to let you experiment with these on your own and figure out which ones you need. But for right now, I'm just going to leave query. The item description is very important. Here you can see that my summary and my tags, I had tags in there. Tags are very important. It lets you search. And my description were all filled in, as well as my credits in my map document properties dialog box. What you don't see is the access and use constraints. Well, if you want to take advantage of this, and you should, the National Park Service Data Distribution Liability Statement is online. And if you simply bring up your web browser and do a web search for National Park Service GIS Data Distribution Liability Statement, this will come up, and you can copy this into the dialog box. Now, you may want to actually put that in Notepad before you do a paste, but I'm just going to go ahead and copy that in, and you can see that that's been added to my access and use constraints here. Now, sharing, if I would like to share this with a group, I could definitely do that. I'm a member of several groups, and you may be a member of several of these groups too, and groups are used to allow others to have access to your content. I'm going to hit the Analyze button, and what that's going to do is it's going to check to see if I have any errors. If you have an error, which you can see I'm circling way over here on the far left of my interface, you have to correct those errors before you can publish. Now, if you have a base map associated with this map document, that will not publish, and you're going to have to remove that. Okay. Now, I don't have any errors. I like everything that I have. Now, when I click Publish, this is going to package my data up in my map document here and copy that up to ArcGIS Online. So the data lives on my desktop, and it also lives in ArcGIS Online, but they're not linked. So if I make an update to this data layer, it will not be reflected in my online environment, and I would have to overwrite that environment. So this is going to take a minute to do some server-side processing, and it's simply going to push that up into ArcGIS Online. And that little donut just keeps spinning, so I'm going to pause the recording. Okay, and after a few minutes, your service will publish, and you'll get a little dialog box that says the service has been published successfully. If you get an error, that means there was a hiccup on the internet somewhere, and give it a try. Try it again. Sometimes it doesn't work the first time, and that is behavior that I've seen before, but don't let it frustrate you. I'm just going to click OK. Now, since I have published this to my ArcGIS Online environment, I'm going to bring that up and look at it. Now, I've already logged in, and you can see I've logged in up here into my organization with the National Park Service, and I'm going to navigate to my content. Now, right here, you're going to see that this has been loaded, and if I simply click on that, I want to move that to a different folder, and I want to move that to my how-to videos folder just to keep my workspace clean. So now you can see that that feature hosted feature layer has been moved to ArcGIS Online. Now I'm going to click on that and go to the overview page here, and you can see that the layer is the same as my map document, and I want to make sure that all of that data has come over correctly. So I can see that my tabular view looks good, and you can see that only the attributes that I chose to make available in my ArcMap document are now visible here. If I want to look at that data in the ArcGIS Online interface, the visualization, you can see now that that data does render as you would expect. And if I do an identify on just one particular part of that data set, you can see that the pop-up displays my aliases that I set in ArcMap and only the attributes that I made visible within ArcMap. So that's how to publish an ArcMap document to the National Park Service ArcGIS Online interface. Remember, you have to have NPS publisher credentials to do this. And if not, please contact your regional coordinator for assistance. Okay, thanks a lot, and I hope you have a good day.